Yeah, hello everybody. Greetings from Ghana. Our topic for presentation is names of seasons as expressions of climatic conditions and agrarian practices in Kusaal. I am Hasiyatu Abubakari, and my co-presenters are Samuel Akugri Asitanga and Lawrence Sandow. So our presentation is outlined as follows. We will start by giving a brief introduction to the entire research. Then we would state our objectives. We will give a brief background on the language and its speakers, as this would be quite an unfamiliar language for a lot of people. We would talk about our data collection and methodology. This will be followed by the theoretical framework, then the literature review, then our findings and discussions, which will then be followed by a very brief conclusion. So to begin with, there is a gradual loss of indigenous knowledge relating to names of seasons and their associating climatic conditions among the minority Kusaal language speakers of Ghana. The names of the minor periods in the seasons are mostly agrarian terminologies, as we would see very soon. Any loss of indigenous knowledge on the names of the seasons and their associating climatic peculiarities is definitely a loss of knowledge on major climatic information in the Kusaug traditional area. And for this study, we seek to document the names of these seasons in Kusaug, highlighting their etymology, socio-cultural and economic significance, and their accompanying climatic conditions. It will be shown that the Kusaas have 4 seasons, which fall at the same time as the seasons in Europe. So the seasons are Sapal, Dawanlet, Sigir, and Tindo, and these falls within the same time as winter, spring, summer, autumn, respectively. The study also reveals that the absence of terminologies for day names, week names, and month names in Kusaal. Thus, we also show that there is an absence or lack of terminologies for day names and month names in the language. Before borrowing week names from the houses, the Kusaas calibrated the weeks based on market days, which take place every 3 days from one community to the other. They also relied entirely on the lunar system for calculating the months of the year. What are the objectives of this research? We aim to identify the names of the seasons among the Kusaas and their peculiar climatic conditions. We again intend to explore the various socioeconomic activities that take place in each period. And these activities we realize give the periods their names. We again intend to show that the 4 main seasons in Kusaal correspond with the days of the seasons in Europe. And finally, we want to find out the meanings and etymology of the names of the seasons and the minor periods in these communities. Now, what is Kusaal? What language is Kusaal, and who are the speakers? Kusaal is a member of the wider Niger-Congo language family, and it is categorized as part of the Mabia, which is formerly known as the Guru languages. It is spoken in the Upper East region of Ghana by a group of people who call themselves the Kusaas in plural, and singular is Kusaal. Kusaal is also spoken in 2 other West African countries. It is spoken in Burkina Faso and is spoken in Togo. And the Kusaal that is spoken in Ghana has 2 dialects. We have the Atunde dialect and the Agole dialect. Farming and hunting remain the major occupation of the people. The map that we see is a map of the Kusaal traditional area, which is in the upper east corner of Ghana. So within the Upper East, it also forms, it is sort of the horn, if I may put it, in Ghana. It is estimated that there are over 2 million speakers of the language across the South African region. Now, the data that we use for this research is categorized as primary data, and then the research area concentrated on Zebila and Boku, which are the main, or the district capitals of 2 main districts in the Kusaal-speaking community. We used 6 participants. We intended to use more, but after realizing a repetition of the data and the time involved, we then decided to settle on this. So we had 3 speakers from each of the 2 from Zebila and Boku, where Zebila is the main Tunde speaking area and Boku is the Agole speaking area. Participants were carefully selected, and they were educationists, police officers, retired teachers, and Bible translated. And this was done through semi-structured interviews, which were later transcribed and used for our analysis. The theory we use for analyzing our data is the linguistic relativity theory, or the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. And it states that a basic principle of linguistic relativity is the fact that our thoughts and actions are shaped by our languages. The way a group of people conceive the world is based on the language they use to express their opinions about it. What one has expressions for in one's language basically exists in one's world, and what one does not have a vocabulary for basically does not exist in one's perception. So languages are more or less signs and symbols that encode meaning that reflect the realities of our environment and world at large. Often said than not, language expresses the perception of the world of its speakers. While the language of the Kusaas is informed by their immediate environment, the thoughts and perceptions the people have of the world is influenced by their language. The theory of linguistic relativity therefore explains the absence of indigenous vocabulary for names for expressing the 7 days of the week and the concept of calculating the months in the year. The names of periods and seasons have direct semantic interpretation relating to climatic conditions and major activities the people undertake during the said periods in the year. So with this background, let's briefly look at some literature on this topic. Studies on names actually are sort of sparse. We couldn't gather a lot of literature on this. Seasons can be categorized into major and minor seasons. The difference lies in the duration. Thus, a major season like winter is relatively longer than a minor one like Christmas, according to Olaf 2003. Many languages derive season names from atmospheric or climatic conditions, agricultural activities, stages of plants' growth, level of water bodies, celestial bodies, etc. And we will realize that this is not different in the case of Kusaal. Season names could also not have any associated meaning, but refer to natural phenomena. Example, the Genegi or Clauses and others from Olaf 2003. Names of seasons or months could also be adapted into languages, and we will see the case in Kusaal. Seasons also mark certain important events or activities, for which reason the people may name that period based on the activity. The literature does reveal that names of seasons are often characterized by socio-cultural activities and other important phenomena in the lives of folks, which is the case or the observation that this study also reveals. Now let's look at our key findings. We'll begin with our key findings. Some terminologies that we found that the Kusasis refer to season, or the term season, as sanga, which is also referred to as time, and win, which is period. But the word sanga is borrowed from Hausa, which is sa, which is luck, fortune, or Win, which is used as period or refers to period, is also derived from the word winning, which is the sun. And Win is also the name or the term used for God. The supreme God is also referred to as Winnem or Winnam, which is the supreme God. So the word win relating to the sun and also being referred to as period in a way leads to the connotation that the people might perhaps have some belief in celestial bodies. This has to be confirmed further. The Kusaas also identify 2 major seasons, which is also the case in the temperate zone. So we have the dry season and the wet season. And the dry season is called which is the current season. And then the wet season is called Sanga or Sengwing, which is the dry season. Now, on the names, okay, we also found some terminologies, and we want to that talk about temporal expressions. We see where their etymologies or where their sources are. The word for morning or dawn, asuba, is borrowed from Hausa. Nintang, which is sun or sunshine, is also referred to. So when you want to refer to daytime or afternoon, you use the word nintang. Zam, evening, we couldn't find any word that relates or that serves as the etymology. Moon is used to refer to the month. Yom is also year, Zina today, Big is tomorrow, Sus is yesterday, Dar means day, and Danta is the fourth day. These are the names that the people, or the term that the people use to refer to time within their space. But for weeks and others, they don't have anything they don't have direct expressions for them. And so the day names were borrowed from Hausa. So you realize that Hausa will have Atini, which is Monday, Talata, Tuesday, Laraba, Alamis, Juma, Asibi, and Ladi. And the Kusaas add the word for day to the name that they borrowed from Hausa. So if they say Atini, then they will add Atinidal, which is the Atani day. Yeah, so that is how they borrowed the names and then added the word Dar, which is day, to all of them. On counting the months, the Kusaasis do not have names for the months, so they use numbers to calculate them. And in this case, they also they have 13 months because they use the lunar calendar. So the first month, they have first month, which they start calculating from December. And this is a period of this festival, the festival called Samanpid. So they say Samanpid Warak, which is the Samanpid month. But the second month, they will say Wadis Ayini, that is the second month, the third month, the fourth month. That is how they calculate the month. But the 13th month is this. We don't have a corresponding reference in English, but they have the 13th, or they use the month is 13. Now, our findings on taxonomies identify names of the seasons in Kusaal. These R1, R2 refer to our respondents. And then the respondents all agree that we have a period that we call Sapal. So this one calls that period, and then they give the month when it occurs. So we have Sapal, and then someone also said Fulumfu for that same period, or something around that period. So we had about 1, 2, 3, 4 people using Sapal for that. So we decided to use the majority, the download. We also have almost everybody using that for the same period. We also have the same people using sigir for a particular moment or period in time. And then we have seng, tindon for also the specific period in that time. So we realized we gathered these 4 tropical or these 4 seasons during the 2 tropical times or periods. So what we have is that the dry season, for instance, then we have the Sapal and Damalit, which go in this month. And then in the wet season, we also have Seng or Tindon, which also has these months. So Sapal takes place in December, January, February, and then Damalit is from March, April, May, and then Seng is from May, June, July, August, and Tindon is September, October, November. Now, names of seasons in Kusaal correspond with seasons in Europe. So what we realize is that the Sapal period also takes place around the time of winter. The Downlake period takes place around the time for spring. The Seng period takes place in summer, and then the Tindon takes place in autumn. Now, these periods have minor climatic conditions or minor periods, and the people refer to these periods as names of months. That is what we realize is now coming up. But we think of a caution, because if people use then the time that maybe there may be changes in these periods, when we adapt them as names of month, we are likely to forget about the specific seasons or climatic conditions that accompanied this period. So it is not official, but we realize that some people are trying to use these minor periods as names. So within Sapal, we also try to find out the etymology of some of these seasonal terminologies. Sapal, we were asking ourselves whether it's a compound word made of sa, which is rain, and palni, or sap, which is a staple food, and then palnim. But the fact is that during Sapal, there is no rain. So we cannot say it is new rain or something like that. The period is accompanied by coldness, humidity, and dust. So at the current moment, we will say we are in Sapal because we have this dust and humid condition in the dry period or the dry season. And this is also the time where we have harvest, and then we have the Samampid Festival, which was just celebrated on 28th, or is it? Oh no, on 30th December, just recently, and that. So that is the Sapal period, and the other months or other periods that come with it. The other season is the Dawalik. And this is derived from the Dawadawa, which is the Parkia biglobosum tree. So during this time, we have a lot of fruits, a lot of trees with fruit. And so the season is named after that. And the main tree is the Dawadawa tree. And so we have the Dawadawa and then the fruit. And so the two comes together to derive the name, the Dawalik. And it is a period that is accompanied by heat. So they call Tulongwen, they say the heat period. And it's very dry and hazy weather. So the characteristics, you have the fruit-bearing period, such as dawn, that is the Dawadawa, and then the Tama. The Tama is also another tree that also fruits. So you have a lot of fruits during this period. So all these these are all minor periods that are found within the Dawalik season. And we have the Kuya Maluk. Okay, so that is a time that the people also perform funerals. We have Dod Philip Titar Tab. So this is a period. So there is a specific period within this season where the people will have to roof and plaster their buildings. So they name the period based on the activity that they do. We have the Vala Unso, which is the preparation of farmland. So there is a period within this when the people have to use that time to prepare their land for farming. So they name the periods based on the activities that takes place, and all these fall within a particular season that is called the Dawalik. The next season is the Sigir, which and this we think is derived from the word sig, which is descent. And it is marked by the emergence of rainfall. So we have cloudy weathers. And the first time, or the first climatic thing, or the main climatic thing that one is of is the Siksa Nib. That is the first heavy rain. So everybody expects this rain in this season. And then there is the belief that the canary bird cries at this time to call the rain. So when they hear the canary bird singing, they say it is Awetin Kasuk. So that is the time that this bird cries at a particular period. Then there is a period within the city they call Buduk, and that means planting. So the planting period. Then they have another one they call Nadon, which is weeding or reweeding of crops. Then the final period in Sigi is Mutu. That is the final weeding. So these basic periods or minor periods fall within the major season called Sigir. Then the final season is Tindon, which we think is a fusion or a compound of the word Ting, which is land, and Duya, which has risen or gone up. And it is mostly moist and green environment. No planting of crops takes place at this time. And then at this period, we have minor periods like Nadok Sanga, that is the harvesting of early millet. Kino Setpoya, that is the late millet begins to flower. And then Moslok, which is crop mature. So they have these minor periods within this major season. In summary, we say concepts such as day names and the names of the month of the year do not have expressions that code them in Kusaal. Kusaals have 4 seasons, which is Sapal, Damalik, Sigir, and Tindon, which correspond with the seasons in Europe. The names of the seasons are derived from the weather conditions, farming activities, and socio-cultural events in the environment. Although some names have their etymology traceable from the morphemes that combine to form the compound, it is not all the names that have identifiable meanings that can easily be deduced from the morphemes. The periods for some of the seasons have changed, making it difficult for respondents to give the exact time frames within which they occur. More of these studies are recommended since the names of these seasons serve as intangible historical artifacts, providing information on indigenous concepts of climatic knowledge. Names of the seasons are pointers of possible climatic changes in the local and rural settings of the people. Tiprosia, thank you very much.
If anyone in the audience has questions for the speakers, you can type them in the chat or you can raise your Zoom hand. All right, I see one in the chat. It says, are English words like harmattan, am I pronouncing that right, ever used? Or there's no code switching or pigeon with some English words for seasons and parts of seasons?
Oh, okay. So I don't know if I understand the question very well, but the people will not use harmattan unless the person is trying to speak English or something like that. So they will rather refer to the time or the season based on the way they locally refer to it as the sapal season. But harmattan is also there. Those who have gone to school know harmattan, and it is used by the educated. But the very old and local people may not use the word harmattan, but it is very well established, a very well established term.
Another one in the chat says, how do people who speak Kusaal mark birth dates or death dates if day names are not used? Or is that not important?
Oh, no, I don't think whether I said day names are not used. So what happens again is that because day names are borrowed, then because day names like the way for the name for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are borrowed, day names are equally borrowed. So someone who is born on Monday will be called Tini, when the Hausa will call the person at Bentani, that is a Monday born. So the Kusaas still borrow the day names from the Hausa and use them. So we have day names. But on birth, I don't know what so I don't know if I understand. So birth date, so the day names are used as that is there. But death dates, I don't know what that means, Spacey. I'm not sure if I understand it very well. I don't know whether I understand the death dates. If you can please explain what you want to understand better from there. Yeah.
I believe that the day that someone dies, the day that they pass, is that what's intended by the question?
Yes. So the day that someone dies, we don't name the person. I don't know whether I understand it very well. We don't name persons when they die. I don't know if I understand the question. If it is about a death name, I don't know whether I understand the question very well. But there is no name that is given when someone is dead. I'm not sure if I understand the question very well. So the person, the one who asked the question, can please clarify, and then I can answer. Thank you.
All right, we have another question in the chat. At the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned the loss of indigenous names of seasons. How is this affecting the understanding of climate and the culture at large?
Thank you very much for this question. So the desire to even study this came out of the fact that I saw a post which was talking about month names. But since childhood, I've never known that we have month names. So we went into it, and then we discovered, okay, this and this and this are the things that are there. So the fact is that without documenting this, that what it means is that indigenous knowledge is gradually getting lost. And you also realize that the names of the specific periods come with specific activities that the people engage in. So these periods, or even seasonal names or season names, and the names of the various periods talk about agrarian activities, cultural practices, etc. So the loss of these names definitely goes with the loss of indigenous knowledge. And assuming we even innovate month names, since there are climatic changes here and there, periods change. What it means is that if you adapt or you use this period at month names, and then there are climatic changes or weather changes, and the particular climatic condition that a period is named after changes, then it means we've sort of lost that idea, or the very reason, or I don't know how to put it. Yeah, then the idea, or how do I even put it? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that once the names of the periods specify specific activities that the people do, as soon as you adapt them, and then the activities or the periods or the weather or climatic conditions change, it means you are definitely going to lose the indigenous knowledge of the weather conditions that gave birth to the particular name that we use for periods. I don't know whether I'm making myself clear here. So that is basically what the argument is saying, that once the names come with specific periods, adapting them for situations or times when those periods are not prevalent means that we are going to lose some kind of ideas or knowledge that accompany them.
I had a quick one. We only have about a minute if you can answer it quickly. How you use the framework of linguistic relativity you talked about. Did you consider other frameworks for your research, or could you talk just a little bit about your methodology and why you went with that one in particular?
Thank you very much for that question. Sincerely, I couldn't immediately think of a theoretical framework that I could use. So I felt, okay, the linguistic relativity sort of talks about the way the people, it gives an opportunity for us to understand the way people perceive the world or the environment around them. So using that theory and situating it in this context allow us to understand the way the people sort of calibrate time and then days and then week and then seasonal needs. So that is the reason why I went for that theory. But if there is any proposal or suggestion, I think I would gladly accept that as a contribution that I can use to rework this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting.